Hmm.
So she's a real tribe.
Wow.
So we talked about kodo millet, and you read about the 10 elephants which died.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, eating kodo, right?
Kodo, yeah.
So we had a conversation with her, and I want to bring upon two aspects.
Hmm.
One is what she said. She said that even animals, cattle also eat X amount of kodo, and they also act crazy. They fall off. They become disoriented and
She
all that.
said that.
She said
Hmm.
that, and she said that the antidote for it. There is a tree called dahiman, okay, which
Grows in the same area?
uh, she said that they also have it, but very, very few. It has become almost extinct in our forest. Dahiman is a tree which, when the Britishers came, they were physically in fight with the Gond tribes, and both of them used to get hurt physically, and the bones used to go back, and they used to recover very fast.
Hmm.
Okay,
And the
and
British figured
Britishers
out.
were not able to recover.
Oh, I see.
So then they found out how these guys are recovering. There is a tree called dahiman, and that paste of the dahiman leaves people used to apply these gone tribes. So in order to destroy the gones, British ordered the entire dahiman trees to be cut down everywhere, and dahiman almost was getting extinct. And she said that dahiman water they feed it if a cattle goes crazy.
Also human beings?
She said that elephants could have been given this diamond water. And I wanted to tell you very happily that in Prakruti Prerana Foundation, in our side, we got diamond tree, which started growing on its own. I mean,
Terrific.
it's God's blessing.
That's great.
Yeah,
So you
and
have one.
yeah, we have three of them.
Terrific. Today we are facing such catastrophes, disasters on climate, on species extinction, on pollution. We have crises coming every day that are new and leading to more crises like natural disasters and hurricanes and storm effects and so on, that we can't ignore them anymore. So the environment, which used to be a subject which I've been involved in for the last 30, 40 years, used to be a subject that everybody used to laugh at and say, what is the environmental problem when we have so much poverty? But the part of the reason why we have so much poverty is because we've messed up the environment, and vice versa. Poverty and environment are totally interrelated, and to that extent, they can't be dealt with separately. So when we coin the word sustainable development, it includes the social as well as the environmental aspects of what is wrong with this world. And in order to get the world straightened out, we are now going to have to make sure that the resource base, the soils, the forests, the water, the ability of people to make a living and a livelihood is intact. And the next generation, our children and their children, are going to pay very heavy costs unless we do that very urgently now. I think you put your finger on one major aspect, which is how the water of this whole country comes from the Himalayas, and that mainly is going to be a big problem if it dries up. If the glaciers disappear and the water doesn't come down, where are you going to get drinking water from? But it's not the only place. The coastal zones are in trouble. The plains are in trouble. The large part of India is becoming desertified. We're losing land. We call it wasteland, but that's just a euphemism. A wasteland is not is good land becoming desert, and we cannot afford that with a population of 1.5 billion people to lose any square inch of land, and we're losing it very rapidly. So your point about the Himalayas is very important because they're fragile ecosystems and they control particularly the water, but also a lot of the resources that sustain the whole subcontinent. So it's very important for us to manage them well. There are many ways when you have invasive species that start strangulating the local species, and particularly the plants, you have to figure out two or three ways to do it. One is put it to use, cut them down and use them, and make them into a raw material that's of value. Make them into paper, make them into furniture, make them whatever. So that's one way to monetize it, so that people actually make full use of it and get value out of it. The other way is to see what is the ecological relationship between lantana and the other plants, and find scientific ways in which your other plants dominate uh, lantana rather than the vice versa. So there are issues involved which involve science, they involve business, and they involve policy. So that, in my opinion, lantana should be seen as a resource, and we should be basically making incentives for people to use it if it grows that prolifically. However, when you have an invasive species, it draws on the nutrients of the local soils, and if you overutilize it, then other other plants are shortchanged. So you have to be a bit careful, but it can be designed right, and if it's done scientifically, I think you can have your cake and eat it. Well, one solution is that our consumption patterns have to change. We have a consumption pattern which is called linear. You take from Mother Earth, you extract, you process, you use, and then you throw away. Now, if you go on doing that, obviously you're going to have a problem, both in running out of materials and in polluting at the other end. So obviously, if you want to get rid of that, you have to go into closing that loop. In other words, we call it the circular economy. So if you can design your products that people need, whatever it might be furniture, it might be food systems, whatever, in such a way that you're not wasting any, leaking out any of the materials, then you're better off. So the future lies in redesigning our economic system to reduce the amount we ask from Earth. Mother Earth will give you whatever you need, but if you ask for more than that, she's going to be very angry. And so I think it's important to remember what the Mahatma said, which is there's enough in this world for every person's need, but there isn't enough for even one person's greed. So I think we've got to remember that. What you are doing is so fundamentally important in showing that our farming systems, our food security systems, our ability to grow crops and biomass in India has to be based on a totally different approach. It has to be based on using the natural processes rather than industrial chemical processes, and the amount of energy and water we use has to be conserved, and it has to lead to products that people really benefit from. Instead of flooding the market with huge amounts of unnecessary products, you need to remember that what really needed is nutrition, and you want nutritional products. And now I think people are thinking about millets, for example, and going away from traditional conventional grains. Wheat and rice are good, but millets are better for many places, both for the production and for consumption. So I think we've got to do very fundamental rethinking. And what you people are doing in Bandhavgarh, I think, is crucial. It's going to be leading to solutions that all of us need. But in particular, I would like to wish all success to the Prakruti Prerana Foundation.